G'day and welcome to another big edition of the RDFNL Footy Show. Thanks to our friends at Ontime Delivery Solutions. I'm joined by Tara Murray from the Star Weekly. Thanks for jumping on board.
Thanks for having me.
And we certainly had a cracking night at the Bowen and Ryan medal count this week, and sort of a big congratulations to the winner there, Jesse Davies from Wallen. A fantastic season by him. Unfortunately for him and his Pies, they couldn't push deeper into finals as much as they like, but a fantastic season from him in his second season in the RDFNL.
It was, and I think he was probably among the favourites for a lot of people up there. I know I'd seen on social media a few people had said they expected him to possibly take it out, and look, he was probably the dominant player for Wallen out there. They had a lot of good standouts this year, but him in the midfield, and then he could run forward and kick a few goals as well. So he had that flexibility, which Wallen really used really well all season. Obviously disappointing end to the season for the Magpies out there, but a strong season from Jesse.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember speaking to Dan Nolan, the captain of the Pies, earlier on in the season, and he said, sorry, the coach, yes, yeah. And he did sort of say, if I had to pick a favourite for the Bowen medal, it would be Jesse Davies, and he's called that beautifully. And Brett Swallow finishing runner-up as well, just continuing on another fantastic season for him.
I think, and look, you imagine if Brent had played the whole season, he missed a number of weeks late in the year. I think he came back in the final round of the season, or the second last round. So he missed 4 or 5 weeks, I think it is. If he had played a full season, he could have quite easily added a second Bowen medal.
Jeez, I know. He and Ty Cuff have certainly got something in common there, because that happened with Ty last year, where he was leading for the first half and then got injured and then come back late in the season and pulled a few votes late, and he only missed by 1. So there was only not that sort of margin that we saw on Wednesday night, but a good count nonetheless, and great to see Dan Toman back in the votes as well. I know he polled pretty well, and he had 1 vote last year, so...
That was the biggest shock of the night last year. He was my favourite going into the count and just got 1 vote, so good to see him actually rewarded for that good form that he has shown in the last couple of years since he's come back to the league.
Absolutely. As we turn our attention to preliminary final weekend, and I'm really, really excited. I was actually hoping that this matchup would take place earlier on in the finals, but I'm kind of glad that it's happened now. We've got Macedon and Diggers Rest, 2 clubs who have had a decorated history in the finals. They go head-to-head at Romsey Park for Saturday afternoon football. Winner goes straight through to the big dance. This is going to be amazing.
It is our last 2 premiers as well. So both of these sides have been in the top 6 for a number of years, been around the mix for obviously grand finals and premierships, and I think this will be a cracker of the match. We talk about a lot of the youth that was in some of these sides in the top 6. These 2 are probably a little bit more experienced of the 2 sides, so we've got a lot of key experienced players all across the ground in this one, and that's where it's obviously got that. It's how those bottom, probably younger guys sort of step up and get a bit more of an even spread. I think both these teams have found at times this season that they haven't had that even spread, and when they don't, they're not getting the wins.
Definitely right. Now, this is the Cats have hit the form at the right time. The Boroughs, on the other hand, they're still trying to work out what sort of lineup they can take in, and I guess they run the risk of playing guys like Rupert's Wood, guys that maybe just don't have that match experience. Whereas Macedon, for them, they've got a clean bill of health pretty much, other than a couple that we spoke about earlier in the week that could come in, but you just never know. Like, this is the Cats are in a prime position here.
Well, that's it, and pardon me. And you've got obviously Diggers Rest has a number of players that could possibly come back in. I think they're still missing 5 from their best lineup. And speaking with Jamie Lobb, he expects probably 3 or 4 to get in. And there are players across the ground. You've obviously got a Jesse Flannery who adds to the midfield. You've got a Stuart Clark. You've got a Brent Tuckey. You've got a Mick Kelty, some of the ones that could possibly come back in. As we mentioned, Errol McConnell and Aaron Johnston are 2 players for Macedon that could possibly come into the mix as well. So it's about whether getting the stability within the side. I know Macedon's sort of built to that and got their best lineup back at the right time of the year. The Boroughs were seen in and out all season. They haven't had that consistency which they were looking for. But we've seen both of these. Obviously, Diggers Rest lost to Riddle on the weekend, but that had 2 really good performances the 2 weeks before that. Whether the opponents were probably, you look at it, they played Romsey and I think it was Melton Central, so probably not the calibre of a Wallen and Rupert's Wood, who we've seen Macedon absolutely smash the last 2 weeks. So Macedon would actually go into this game favourites. They finished 5th after the regular season, but I'd be tipping them to get up this weekend.
And I think that game against Lansfield was pretty important for them too, because it gave them a chance to get some match fitness into guys like Jason Cook, for argument's sake. I know he kicked was it 5 or 6 goals in that last round, and he was like the missing jigsaw puzzle piece to slot back in that lineup. I know Chris Kilmartin was an addition to the first week of the finals, but I think by then he was probably the last one to really slot in there, and they'd really started to find that that team, that balance.
It is, and obviously you've got Casey Summerfield back late in the season, back into that midfield, and adds a bit more depth, which at times they probably lack that in the midfield, with Zach Smedley going from probably being their third most important midfielder to being their most important midfielder for a big part of the season. So you bring him back, he gets a bit more freedom, and you look at Dan Markworth, Matt Dick have sort of hit form at the right time as well. On the weekend, Tom Waters was best on ground, so you've got a lot of their big names that hit form at the right time, and I think the Burrows will be hoping that theirs can hit form this weekend as well.
Yeah, for them it's just about having some of their bigger guns sort of step up. We know Matty Medcraft has had a pretty good final series. He kicked a few goals in the first week of the finals, and Cam McCabe's been in good touch. So they just had it wasn't a disappointing performance on the weekend against the Bombers. It was just probably one quarter that got away from them. But other than that, their finals campaign hasn't been too bad.
It is, and speaking with Jamie, he said they won a lot of the stats. So in the end, they just weren't able to get the opportunities to convert in front of goal, and that was the difference. If you get those opportunities, you convert, you get the win. And so it wasn't like they were completely smashed or completely beaten. There was bits and pieces where you fixed 2 or 3 things, and they can quite easily get the win.
Yeah, I think one of the intriguing things here is a Diggers Rest. This is they don't want to go out in back-to-back prelims, considering they won the flag in 2016. While for Macedon, look, we haven't seen a Macedon Riddle Grand Final ever. I think, as far as I can recall, I don't think we've ever seen that. Whereas we have seen your Diggers Riddle only a few years ago. So I think the combinations here will be very intriguing. And the last time Riddle and Macedon did play off in a final, it was for mine. It was the match of the year, and the grand final went to extra time. But I think this one's got their rich history in finals is going to be very, very intriguing. Can't wait to see it play out here.
It is, and who's your tip this week?
Tipping for a game. Well, look, I must admit,
You're going to sit on the fence again?
I'm not. Given that I am not in a position where I'm going to be able to view this game, I don't feel like I'm in a position where I can tip. So I haven't seen the form of either side. So. Look, I want this game to go to extra time, and actually, with that, Diggers Rest has won a preliminary final in extra time, so I think that will be enough to get them over the line. Based on that silly prediction, and it was heartache. I remember that day very well, but I'm not going to go walk down memory lane of 2006. It was a very sad day for a Hawks fan, but anyway, we come back and won the premiership the next year. So well done, William Heskett. Yeah, I think this is going to be a great game, extra time, and the Burrows to get up. There you go. We'll see how we go with that. But anyway, it's going to be a cracking game of footy. Get down to Romsey Park. It's going to be very, very memorable. The winner to play Riddle in the grand final. Thanks to our friends at Ontime Delivery Solutions. Tara, thanks so much for jumping on board, and we can't wait to see what comes ahead this weekend.
Thanks for having me.